Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. From the latest signs to this year's breakout stars and all the news in between, as always, I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Anthony.
What's going on?
What's going on? Happy Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday.
Yeah, hump day.
Today's Wednesday.
Trying to get over the hump over there.
My days have been all off this week. I forget what days it is. So it's good to know it's Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm just kidding. Thank you, Jeremiah. How is your Wednesday going so far?
I think people can tell the difference between my voice and Anthony's voice.
That's
Probably,
the point.
That's the point.
Is your Wednesday going well?
Well, it just started because this is the first thing I do in the day is do these shows.
That's very true. I mean, Anthony and I have been here. We've been here for about 2 hours now. Just recording shows, you know?
Yeah.
You can dig it?
Oh, I can dig it. Can you dig it, sucker?
Yep.
You know who that is?
I forget off the top of my head right now.
That's Booker T, man.
Booker T, thank you.
Booker T,
yeah.
come on.
Booker T.
Yeah.
Well,
He's just like, I don't care. That's fine.
I remember Booker T.
He didn't care.
I remember Booker T when he was on SmackDown.
Yeah, speaking of Booker T, Goldberg came back, by the way.
Yeah, we saw earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I guess. I mean,
yeah, really. He
really.
is over 50.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not drawing me back.
It only drew me back for like 5 minutes, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't care.
Other than that, let's talk about football, guys.
All right, well, things we're talking about today.
49, not 50.
He's close.
You said he's over 50. He's 49. That's fine. Anyway,
he's close to 50 years old.
Anyways, today we're going to talk about some news that actually just came out a little while ago surrounding Ben Roethlisberger, some about Geno Smith, some about Vontaze Burfict, and then we have our wide left and our for real segments today as well. So, if we want to get started, let's start with Ben Roethlisberger. So there's been two schools of thought here with Roethlisberger, as I mentioned in the sports show. Roethlisberger told the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette that the doctor said his knee looked good, but he had buildup from the last season's bone bruise, so that jeopardizes his chances to return Week 9 against Baltimore, which is they have the Patriots this week, a bye, and then Baltimore. Said he doesn't have an exact timetable. It depends on his pain and how he feels. He's known to play through pain a lot. That's just how he does stuff. You know, that's kind of been Roethlisberger's thing his entire career. Well, apparently, according to Chris Mortensen, post-surgery outlook for Big Ben shifted from 2 to 3 weeks to 4 to 6 weeks. The Steelers have Patriots, bye, the Ravens, Cowboys, and the Browns. Now, hearing two things, I don't really know what to think. The only thing I do know is that regardless of any timetable I ever hear when it comes to injury for Roethlisberger, I don't abide by it. I don't look at it because the dude he's not a normal person. He doesn't follow normal protocol when it comes to injuries. You hear it from the kettle's mouth. You hear it from the source with Roethlisberger saying, how he felt about it, and then you hear from who knows what Mortensen, who he heard from in the sense of 4 to 6 weeks. Even if I put it at 4 to 6 weeks, I'd still say that's closer to 3 weeks, with Roethlisberger. So I don't really know what to think of it. I try not to make assumptions with Roethlisberger's injuries, when he'll be back, when he won't be back, and the only time I'll ever assume is if I have a definite, he's out for the year kind of thing, you know what I mean? So I don't know what to think of it. I treat him much like if it's 1 to 2 weeks, I say 1. If it's 10 to 12 weeks, I say 9. You know what I mean? It's just how Roethlisberger does. So 4 to 6 weeks, I don't really know. I would say we'll have to see how it goes. Probably shorter than that, I would imagine.
Yeah, you probably assume a little bit less than that. And, you talked about it last week when he was playing the Dolphins. Basically the doctors told him about it, and he said, Doc told me at halftime he was pretty sure it was a meniscus tear and that I probably was going to have surgery on Monday. He said it was up to me and my pain tolerance, and, I wasn't going to do any more damage to my knee. So he's basically just like, okay, that's fine. So I just have to deal with this for basically a half. And like you said, he's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league. He's been through a bunch of injuries. You said he's only started a full season, twice in his whole career? He's always
excluding the 2010 year where he missed the first 4 games due to suspension.
Right.
He played the rest of that year. He's only played all 16 games twice.
Right. So he's, someone who always has a couple of injuries, be it football related or the motorcycle stuff he had back in the day. So he's always
he hurt his spleen.
He's got a bunch of injuries, like you said. Just with this, when they were going into surgery, they realized other things that have built up in the past, stuff that's kind of lingered from
but I don't know what builds up when you have a bone bruise, but
right.
There was. I mean, he's had his knee scoped, I want to say 5 of the last 4 years.
Right.
Sorry, 4 of the last 5 years.
Right.
Doesn't add up. So I mean, he has it cleaned up because the knee he hurt is the same knee he sprained his MCL. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, and he had the bone bruise in a couple weeks later because of that. So, same knee, reoccurring injuries. I have a bad knee, and I know when I tweak it, obviously it hurts worse. So.
Right.
Jeremiah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, tough blow. Tough blow to the Steelers' offense here.
I mean, I think it's just as much of a blow as it was I don't look at this like, oh my God, this is so much worse than it was. I don't.
Well, because you did say he always comes back not on the clear timetable, and I wouldn't be surprised if he came back in 3 weeks to 4 weeks. I don't expect Big Ben to miss 6 weeks.
He's never missed more than 4 games.
I don't think that's going to happen. He is going to be out for sure on Sunday against the Patriots.
Yeah, he's already been ruled out.
He's already been ruled out, and he has the bye week after that.
I think that's a great thing in terms of timing.
Yeah, that's great. The bye week's coming at a perfect time, so he's probably going to miss at least 3 to 4 games.
Yeah, as a Steeler fan, to go away from the non-favoritism here. As a Steeler fan, for me, it's not something I super worry about. The Steelers are used to life without Roethlisberger, especially after last year, and then, times throughout his entire career. I think it came at as good of a time as an injury can come. I think it came at a good time. And the AFC North is not very great this year. We're getting news right now that Flacco isn't practicing today, and his status as of right now is kind of up in the air for this week. He went down with a knee injury last year. He finally missed the first game of his career after he tore his ACL. Dalton broke his thumb. I'm not saying that these are current injuries for these guys, but the AFC North isn't as strong as it has been this year.
Right.
Save for, it's still the start of the year. But Steeler fans can look at it as, don't panic. Landry Jones said it best in this their meeting this morning. He said, don't panic, So, it's a blow. Anytime you lose a starting quarterback like that, I think this news isn't more or less of a blow. I think it's just news. Steeler fans, I think, are accustomed to not putting timetables on injuries with him. Yeah,
so I see Big Ben coming back possibly November 20th versus the Browns.
Yeah,
maybe against the Cowboys before that.
Yeah, I'm iffy on the Ravens game, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was the following week against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I see him possibly coming back November 13th or 20th.
Yeah, only because, again, it's totally, he said, the way he said it kind of explained it, it depends on how he feels, which, of course, is any injury. But, he's going to want to be back for the Ravens game. He missed the first Ravens game last year, so he'll want to be back for that. But I could definitely see the Cowboys as a date one could circle as a more likely choice. All right, moving on to more quarterback news. The Jets plan to name Geno Smith their new starting quarterback today, coming off news that after Sunday's game that Todd Bowles stood behind Ryan Fitzpatrick as their starter and then went on to say yesterday, kind of backtracked from there. And we see the news as of this morning that it's looking as Geno Smith will be the starter. What are your thoughts on that, Jeremiah?
I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to be the starter moving forward because Todd Bowles did say it after the game, but why all of a sudden he changed his mind all of a sudden? And Geno Smith didn't even look good in limited time on Monday against the Cardinals. So
he had a fumble and an interception.
So
back to back.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryce Petty gets some time this year. I really want to see what Christian Hackenberg can do, and I know we've been talking about him the whole entire year since draft time and how he's not even ready.
Yeah, I find it very hard to believe that he doesn't get any time this year. I'd say he probably gets some more than Bryce because I'm pretty sure Bryce is hurt still.
Maybe if they're 1 in 13.
I think he'll get time. I really do. I think he will at least.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, so here's the thing with Geno Smith. You have to assume, because you said Bowles came out, said Fitzpatrick's my starter, just kind of keeping with what he's been doing all year. I saw after the game they went to, Charles Woodson, and they kind of said, all right, should he start? And he's like, yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you put in Geno Smith? So if he's thinking that, I'm thinking that maybe people in the Jets locker room were probably like, look, I get that Fitzpatrick, you paid him a bunch of money in the offseason. I get all these things like that, but he is bad. And Geno Smith wasn't great when he came in, but small sample size, made a bad pass. Game was already out of hand. Maybe he's trying to do something to try and, like, spark something. Maybe let him, get away with that stuff. Someone in the locker room probably was just like, look, 1-5, not helping. Might as well throw him in the Ravens, see what he can do. And now you get Geno Smith, who, we said this in the other podcast, he was slated to be the starter last year before IK and Paulie broke his jaw. So they saw something in him enough to at least be the starter before that. Then they went to Ryan Fitzpatrick, who had an okay year last year.
He had a career year.
Yeah, but he also, after having that career year, went to a bunch of other teams and said, all right, I would like, a nice contract. And all of them basically came back and were like, no.
No thanks.
No, thank you. You can stay there. And then he went back to the Jets and was like, okay.
Yeah, and it took Ryan Fitzpatrick until the eve of training camp to sign a 1-year, $12 million deal. And it looks pretty dumb now with the year that Fitzpatrick is having.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It looks pretty dumb.
Yeah, just a little bit in my eyes. I mean, they expected this team to come in and do what it had been doing. And
I thought this was a for sure playoff team with Fitzpatrick, and apparently I was wrong with that. He was considered the missing piece last year when this team almost was on the cusp of clinching a playoff berth, and this team was good. When Fitzpatrick didn't play, I think he got hurt against the Raiders, I think, earlier last season, and that team just looked completely different when Fitzpatrick wasn't under center. And this team was in every game last year, but this was an entirely different roster as well.
Mm-hmm.
This defense is not playing well. Darrelle Revis looks old.
Yeah.
And then Matt Forte, he got off to a hot start, but he is not playing consistently as he did. And I don't know, this is just a dumpster fire. That's all I can say.
You know how you have what you say about the Browns?
Mm-hmm.
The Browns are going to be Browns for a while because they're the Browns.
yeah.
Take that 75-80% of the way with the Jets. Same thing. Same thing with the Jets.
So this, when I say the Browns keep browning, so just say the Jets keep jetting?
Yes, 100%. Because here's the thing. So Ryan Fitzpatrick basically played over his skis last year, right? Like, he had 31 touchdown passes. He never had more than 24 in a year before that. 31, he still had 15 interceptions, but he was getting, like, legit playing time and everything else like that. Had a very good year, almost 4,000 passing yards. Like, really, really good. That's an anomaly. That's not who he actually is. And then you're like, okay, I think they can make the playoffs. Don't do that. And you talked about Matt Forte. Matt Forte, like you said, he did. He started off pretty well this year. He looked like somebody that they could rely on. One other thing about Matt Forte is also 30 years old.
Yeah.
So that was going to go at some point. And just now they're going to go with Geno Smith. Geno Smith will be somebody who they're probably not going to win a lot of games with. It's nothing against Geno Smith. Just like we've seen him in the past, he's okay. Like, he has good moments, but he also has really bad moments. Mm-hmm. So they'll probably, finish the year off, assuming he starts the rest of the games, or maybe if Bryce Petty or Hackenberg come in the game, they're going to win, 3 games, 4 games, maybe something like that, get a top 5 pick.
Maybe. I mean, add some pieces, add a legitimate number 1 receiver that, no offense, is not over 30 years old.
Right.
And
get a young running back.
And a receiver that doesn't
name.
Get hurt like Eric Decker, even though
even when he's there, he's not the number 1 quarterback.
Yeah. Right.
All right, last bit of news before we take our first break, and that is Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy, it doesn't look like he's playing tomorrow. McCarthy said he's going to have a magnificently wonderful 24 hours to play tomorrow. He is struggling with his ankle injury. As we said yesterday in the show, Niall Davis was traded to the Packers for a late conditional pick. As of right now, he's the only running back on the roster. James Starks is going to undergo knee surgery. They just have Niall Davis on the roster, person on the roster that can, in a sense, play for sure. With Eddie Lacy's status up in the air, they have some running backs on the practice squad who could come up. Young guys who've been taking first team reps. Excuse me. So it's gonna be interesting to see if he can play. I mean, he's had recurring, injury problems with his ankle this season so far. He had a tough go of it the last game. He looked good, but he got the soreness from that. You've had guys like Ty Montgomery in the backfield and Randall Cobb along with Eddie Lacy. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens personally.
Yeah, so now Davis looks like he's going to be thrown and the fire. And
but I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of have him in there, but still do a lot of the key stuff they do with Montgomery and Cobb. And then if they bring up, say, Don Jackson from the practice squad and have him, he knows the offense. If they do something like that, I don't expect him to be in there like run it 19, 20 times.
Yeah, I expect them to mix it up with Ty Montgomery and Randall Cobb there. Ty Montgomery looks like he's going to be the third receiver because Devontae Adams did leave Sunday's game with a concussion.
Yeah, he's not playing this week.
Yeah, so he's probably going to be – I think he's going to be the X factor in this game tomorrow night.
I can see that.
Yeah, and they also have Randall Cobb, who has time at running back, and Ty Montgomery did play running back when he was in college as well. So they're going to mix and match. So it leaves more of a concern for this Packers offense that has been struggling lately. Yeah. But when your only running back on the roster is now Davis.
At least one healthy running back.
Yeah, healthy running back.
Currently, they still have today to bring guys up and all that good stuff. So.
I think they're going to bring up your boy Don Jackson.
Yeah, that's what we talked about in the sports show. Don Jackson, running back, played Nevada. I played football with him in high school. Really good guy, smart guy. He's been taking first team reps the last 2 weeks. With last week looking up in the air for both of them, and then obviously Lacy ended up playing, but Starks didn't. They didn't call him up. They made room for Niall Davis on the roster by putting Sam Shields on the IR.
That's another tough blow for that defense as well.
With concussion from the season opener. He hasn't played since then. So a lot of injury problems for this team, The running back, a big problem so far in terms of injuries for them. And it's injuries, concerns for an offense that are still just missing something.
Yeah, so you talk about Niall Davis. He hasn't had over 50 yards rushing since September 29th of 2014.
And to be fair, he's not getting the carries.
He's not getting the carries.
Yesterday.
He got passed over for Shakondrick West and
Shakondrick West stepped in, and then Spencer Ware stepped in, and then don't forget you got somebody named Jamal Charles.
Yeah.
So
right,
very rich running back depth over there in Kansas City.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the second guy next to Jamal Charles.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I just got forgotten.
Yeah. I forgot he wasn't even on that roster.
No, I never forget nowadays. I'm sorry, you can continue there, Anthony.
No, because I was just saying, so don't expect him to basically do too much, maybe 50, 60 yards, something like that, just enough to get a handful of yards, just to help out the offense. You don't have to be anybody that's fantastic, because you saw with Eddie Lacy before, he wasn't necessarily killing it, but he was somebody who was solid enough so where they could actually rely on him enough so that way they could set up the passing game as well. He had 65, 81, 50, 61 yards in a game, stuff like that. So he was somebody who was reliable. I mean, he averaged 5.1 yards per carry throughout the year. So he's been pretty solid throughout the whole time. And you don't need Niall Davis necessarily to, be somebody who's fantastic. It's going to be in Green Bay against the Bears. The Bears are a terrible team. You get it on a short week, and usually the home team on a short week will do better. Like I said, we haven't seen Chicago basically do anything of note. They have one win this year, and even that win was they barely got that win. So
it's not wrong.
It is not wrong at all.
I mean, it's one of those things with the Packers where, if they can get enough production from him, call it 60 yards, Aaron Rodgers can be mostly Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they need that much to actually beat the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and remember, now Davis was a long shot to make the Kansas City Chiefs roster this year. I didn't think he was going to make that roster because it was so deep in that position, even though Jamal Charles was hurt. Because they can only have 2 running backs active. Well, that's what they usually do, Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't expect him to have a lot of touches. I see maybe 10 touches in this game for Davis. That includes rushing attempts and practically receiving.
He also has some
receptions.
Kickoffs.
Yeah, and kickoffs too. So I don't expect him a lot more than 10 touches in this game. And I think Ty Montgomery is going to be a huge factor in this game. He's going to be the number 3 receiver. He's going to get some time in the backfield. And I didn't say this on a fantasy show, but I think he's going to be a really great fantasy player this week.
Who? Ty Montgomery. Okay, I was making
he was
sure.
on my waiver wire pickups for the yesterday's show. So yeah.
All right, let's move on. You ready, guys?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Cool. So we're going to take our first break. We're going to come back. We're going to do For Real.
Yeah, of course we are. Every Wednesday.
All right, so we'll do that first. We'll come back. Break first. Come back. For Real. Break. Come back. Wide Left Wednesday. So we'll do it just like that, just as I said, because I don't tell no lies. We're going to do that here, right now, at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. We will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. It's time for some For Real. We're going to do For Real right now. And guess what? I'm starting.
All right.
So I'm going to start with Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford, currently, obviously, the quarterback of the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. He's had a pretty good season. You know, he's played in a total of, I want to say, 4 games now, because the first game they won was a Sean Hill start. He has a 70.4% completion percentage. He's just 10 yards shy of 1,000 yards passing. He has a 6 TD to a 0 interception ratio. He has a 4.8 touchdown percentage. The dude has taken only 8 sacks. He has a current quarterback rating of 109.8. He looks like a first overall pick in a sense. He's not going and winning them games, but he is not losing them these games. He is definitely contributing to every bit of, the wins that this team has procured, since the start of the year. We looked at this upcoming game with the Eagles as a game. Oh man, this is going to be a really good game. And after a couple losses from the Eagles, I don't think it'll be quite as good. I still think that there's maybe something kind of up with them, But I still think the way Bradford's playing, you had a guy that came in here, a week before the season started. And within 2 weeks he was starting 4 games. Like I said, his numbers are great. This is arguably the best season he's had, in a stretch so far. He's on pace to have one of his best seasons. He's looking great. He really is. He's winning these games for them. I want to say that the way he's playing is pretty for real, man.
Yeah, the thing that really pops out to me is that completion percentage is 70.4. That is the highest he's ever had.
Yeah, in his first game against the Packers, they won that one 17-14. He was 280. He was for 22 for 31, 286 and 2. He's only had as many as 2 touchdowns a game. That was his first week and his last start. Both of them, he had 2 touchdowns. He's thrown 1 since, but he's just, this defense is that good of a defense that he's just winning games for him flat out, right?
Yeah, and then his first game, or his first start this year against the Green Bay Packers, I was mildly impressed in that game because he came in literally 2 weeks before that and literally he spread the ball out.
Yeah, in his very first start.
And then he found Stephon Diggs. That was Stephon Diggs' best game of the season so far. He has fallen off since, even though he's been kind of hurt. And Kyle Rudolph, he's got him more involved in the game now. Sam Bradford loves tight ends, dating back to his days in St. Louis and Philly. So I do like Sam Bradford. I do think he is for real in a sense by the way the Vikings play the game. He doesn't have to go out and get 300 yards, 3 touchdowns every. He doesn't have to pull out numbers like Matt Ryan or Drew Brees. He doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, he doesn't have to lead him because of that defense.
Yeah, because the defense is just flat out probably the best in the league right now.
Yeah.
So I do see him. I am going to say he is for real in that sense, just by the way the Vikings play the game.
Yeah, and it's funny too the way they asked him how he picked it up so easily. He said, "quote I learn a new system every year."
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he's always had someone else to kind of go with a different system, whatever else like that, be it for injuries, people are replaced. The one thing that he's been able to do is he hasn't made those disaster plays, right? He doesn't have any interceptions. He's done, well enough so that way it doesn't necessarily come back and bite them because their defense is so good. It's something that you can just kind of not blow the game and you'll be totally fine. And you kind of look at how other quarterbacks have done it in the past. I mean, you look over at Rex Grossman, say, like in 2006. It's like I was trying to, like...
Rex Grossman.
Look, hold on. Hear me out with
Rex
this.
Grossman.
Okay.
That's gross, man.
I understand.
Hey, I see what you did there.
Here's the thing, what I'm talking about with Rex Grossman. Okay, Rex Grossman back in 06 had that great Chicago Bears defense, right? They were kind of like a really, really good team. They made it to the Super Bowl.
I see where you're going.
Through the first 5 games, he had 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1,243 yards, so about average about 250 per game. Same kind of thing. Don't do any disaster plays. Don't do anything that's terrible. Now, to be fair,
oh man, just
okay. To be fair,
wait.
yes, it started later. Yes, after that, he had a total of 20 interceptions. He only had 3 through the first 5 games. So after that, not exactly the same thing. But my point is, he had that good defense that you can kind of rely on. So you don't have to do so many things. You don't even have Adrian Peterson, right? That's kind of gone, and you're still not having to do that many things. And you saw last year, Bradford last year had 14 interceptions. So, he's going to throw these picks. Just give it time. But for right now, he's doing well enough.
I don't know. We'll see when he throws his first interception.
I do think Bradford, he's not going to go throughout the whole season not throwing interceptions. It's not going to happen.
No starter, I think.
But I think the fact that he has this great of a defense, he feels more comfortable. I see a totally different Sam Bradford when I see him play in the Vikings. I did not see this Sam Bradford in St. Louis. I did not see this type of Sam Bradford in Philly. He looks like a completely different quarterback on his team. He looks really comfortable in the pocket. He looks comfortable just being on his team because he knows this team is probably the best all-around roster he's been around.
Easy.
And that goes to show you that football is a team game. It's not on the quarterback.
Very true. All right. Who wants to go next? Eeny, meeny, miny, Anthony.
All right. So, another one we wonder if it's real or not. We got the Houston Texans. So the Houston Texans, they started off well, 2-0, went to 3-1. Now they're 4-2. Have some nice wins. You beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They're looking like a pretty good team. You beat the Indianapolis Colts, which is a division win. That's always a nice thing. You're coming back in overtime to beat them. But the problem with them is you had a 31-13 loss to the Minnesota Vikings, one of the best teams in the NFL, and you got shut out 27-0 against New England Patriots. So you get 4 wins. That's nice. That division's very winnable. You don't even know who's good in that division. You look at the entire thing. Everyone is minus as far as a point differential. So they're all giving up more points than they score. But you can understand them losing to the Patriots and the Vikings. Those are kind of understandable considering how good those teams are. Brock Osweiler is young. Maybe he can get better. Alfred Morris I keep saying Alfred Morris. Lamar Miller. I don't know why I keep saying that.
Alfred Blue.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm doing. Yeah, so Lamar Miller has been doing well this year, and we have seen in the past that if DeAndre Hopkins can actually be targeted, he's one of the top 5 probably receivers in the NFL. This week they have the Denver Broncos in Denver. That's probably going to be a loss. But it'll go a long way with saying if they're actually for real or not, because then you'll actually have a legitimate win. You have the Broncos, even though they're struggling, you still think the Broncos are actually a pretty good defense.
Yeah, they're playing the Broncos this Monday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny. I saw the Monday Night little commercial for it, and they were playing a Third Eye Blind song. I forget it about coming home and all that because he's playing him for the first time.
Yeah,
since
he's
not
coming
being on
back
the team.
to Denver. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny.
So that's the thing. We're trying to figure out with the Houston Texans. I think they're okay. I think they'll probably finish a year 8-8, 9-7, something like that. Something to where it's like a good enough season. But I don't think that they can keep up this thing where they're solidly above 500.
Yeah, and the division that they're in, they're good enough to win the AFC South. It's just every team in this division is pretty weak. Even the Colts, 2-4. I thought maybe they would have got maybe 9 to 10 wins. I don't even know if they're even get to 8.
They stink.
I don't even know if the Colts are going to get to 8. The Jaguars, my pick, I don't even know if they're going to win a game again.
They stink too.
And the Titans, they look better, but they are a young team, so I don't know if Tennessee has enough talent to go over 500. So based on the other teams in the AFC South, Houston Texans look like the best. And that's not saying a lot because of who else they have to compete with, but they are good enough to win this division. And I think they're good enough to not win a playoff game, but that's as far as I go. I don't see this team going far in the playoffs if they happen to make it. I think they'll probably lose that wild card game just like how they did last year when Brian Hoyer was the quarterback. So, I don't see this team going far at all. But they are young. They do got some good pieces there. Lamar Miller has been pretty good. He had his best game on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Brock Osweiler, he looks like he can improve. They do have some stud receivers there. DeAndre Hopkins, top 5. I do like Will Fuller. He had a hot start, even though he has slowed down a little bit. He's been battled injuries. I do like what I see from this team, but I think they're probably a couple years away, maybe 1 year away for being really good.
Okay, I understand that.
And J.J. Watt is gone.
Yes, very true. All right, now quickly, Jeremiah, let's hear what your for real is.
My for real, I'm going to talk about the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
And after Sunday's win against the 49ers, when they absolutely dominated that embarrassing run defense of theirs, if you even call that a defense, I don't even know who was playing linebacker there. They look like they found guys off the street on that defense. That's how bad they looked. But anyways, I do think this team is a legit playoff team. Remember, this team started out 0-2. I completely wrote them off because remember the last loss was against the New York Jets, and the New York Jets have looked horrible ever since then. They made Ryan Fitzpatrick look like Tom Brady in that Thursday night game in Week 2. Matt Forte had, I think, 3 touchdowns and 100 yards. Mm-hmm. They made this team look like a legit playoff team, so I was like, okay, Jets are probably going to be a playoff team. No.
Not so fast, Junior.
No. The way that these two teams have looked ever since that Week 2 game is completely different. The Bills have shut out Carson Palmer and that passing game of the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cardinals have not looked good since. New England, they shut them out 16-0, and I know Tom Brady wasn't playing that game, but they still shut out the Patriots' offense in general. And we saw how the Patriots looked in the 3 other games. And the Rams, the Rams are not a pushover this year. Despite they're not. So they beat him 30-19, and then they just completely dismantle the 49ers and Colin Kaepernick's first start there at home. So I do think this team is a legit playoff team, a legit wildcard team, and the way that they run the ball, I think they're number 1 in run offense.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised after the last week.
This team is built for they're built to be a playoff team. They have LaShawn McCoy practically having his best year in a couple years. Mm-hmm. They have a quarterback that can extend plays with his feet. I was impressed by Tyrod Taylor so far in this game in the past weeks. Tyrod Taylor looks like he's coming into his own. And I know Sammy Watkins, their number 1 receiver, is hurt, but they're finding ways to win the game. And this defense has been great as well. They have one of the top teams in sacks, one of the top teams in defense. I think this team is a legit playoff team. I don't know how far they will go. I do think they're probably a year away from being the legit Super Bowl contender. But I do think this team is built for a playoff run.
Interesting.
So here's the thing. I think this is all an elaborate ruse with the Buffalo Bills. This is all like a giant thing of them basically getting to 8-8. Here's the thing. Because they're 4-2 right now, right?
Yeah.
It looks really good. They got 4 straight wins, everything nice. We all love Rex Ryan. Rob Ryan's on there too. And they got the Dolphins next week. That could be a win.
Yeah, that will be a win.
Hey, and all right, calm down with that. Number 2, after that, they got the Patriots, at Seahawks, at Bengals. Maybe they get 3 losses after that. So then all of a sudden, after going 5-2, maybe they're back down to 5-5. Maybe they're 6-4. Then they got the Jaguars. They could win that. And at the Raiders, that's going to be a hard game. Steelers.
I think they can win that game. I think they can.
But you have losses potentially.
Oakland has only 1 win at home this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have the Patriots, Seahawks, Bengals, Steelers again, and then you have at the Jets at the last game of the season. Like, there's a chance they could get another 5-6 losses, and basically all this comes right back to 8-8. They're looking really good, but they have a hard schedule, at least some of the games coming back. Yeah, you got the Browns, and that's going to help the cause, and you got the Jaguars, but I think this is all an elaborate thing just for them to get 8-8, 9-7.
You can't be that too harsh on them. No, I think they have enough time to go 10-6, maybe 9-7. But no, this team is better than 8-8. In my opinion, this is a better team than
some teams that are better than 8-8 don't always finish 8-8.
That is true, but
the Raiders last year were better than 8-8, and they finished 7-9.
Yeah, well, they were young.
They were every bit into the Redskins. I'm sorry, the Vikings game and the Steelers game last year. They were
in a lot of games. Well, they didn't know how to compete in those games.
No, I'm just saying there's plenty of teams that have finished.
Yeah. But
8-8 or worse that could have been better than that.
I do think the fact that, their wins tell me that they're a legit playoff team. Like, I'm gonna throw out that Niners win because I'm gonna say that was probably a shoo-in. But that Rams, New England, and Arizona win, those are legit wins.
The New England win,
I think that was
the
a
Rams win. They're still struggling.
I know that was I know they didn't have Tom Brady, but that's a legit team they played. Patriots are a legit team all around.
Not that game.
They went 3-1 without Brady, so I'm going to count that as a legit win. Cardinals, that's a legit win.
Not this year.
I think that's a legit win right there. I
don't think they played a legitimate opponent until they play the Patriots again on the 30th of this month when they have Tom Brady, and then we'll see. I don't see them winning that game. We will see what they can do from the 30th to the 20th when they have the Patriots, the Seahawks, and the Bengals.
I don't see them winning against the Patriots and against Seattle. I would give them a chance against Cincinnati. They're not. Yeah. Cincinnati is not as good as Seattle and the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think they've played a legitimate opponent yet. The Ravens aren't great this year. The Jets are, obviously, we talked about them. The Cardinals aren't what they were last year. The Patriots didn't have Brady. The Rams, once you figure out their defense a bit, once you confuse them, their offense isn't amazing. And when you have a decent defense, you can kind of stump them. And then, they just play the Niners. So we'll see in 2 weeks from now when they play the Patriots. Starting that stretch, we'll see if they're really for real.
Arizona is a wild card team this year.
Arizona?
Yeah. Seattle's probably going to win that division.
I don't think Arizona. I think Arizona might get back on track and winning some games, but I still think they have a lot of issues. No,
that team is still too talented to miss the playoffs. I think they still have.
Sometimes it happens, man.
Yeah, I think they have way too much talent.
I'm a Steeler fan. There is 3 years in a row they finished 8-8 when they could have been 10 or 11 games in the win column. Like, believe me, there's a lot of teams in the world that were too good to finish at the record they finished at.
We're just going to have to see, man. This is the beauty of Week 7 right here.
That's very true. Yep. All right, let's take our last break, come back, and we'll do Wide Left. We'll finish the show and get out of here. So we'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. You guys don't go anywhere.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. So it's time for Wide Left Wednesday, in which we talk about the wacky news and the things that make us laugh in the world of football. I'm going to go ahead and start. And my Wide Left Wednesday is Cincinnati Bengals linebacker Vontaze Burfict. Vontaze Burfict? No, not even close. Vontaze Burfict has been fined $75,000 before this fine. Okay, keep in mind, before this fine, not including the 3-game suspension in which he lost his 3-game checks, he had already been fined a total of $69,000. So he is over $100,000 in fines, and he's been in the league for 4 years. Something along those lines. If you want to, you look like your brain's working. You're going to look $75,000 for his stomp of LeGarrette Blount on the goal line. Not to mention, he was not fined for that low leg takeout of Martellus Bennett around his knee, in which he claimed he did not do on purpose. His incidents have totaled, he's been fined 8 times for on-field incidents totaling more than $279,329. The reason this is my wide left is because, can this guy get a clue? Can he figure? I don't understand. You have been fined literally more than some people with solid jobs make in a year. You are playing a game in which injuries are a thing, yet you are going about it in a way that is prompting more likely injuries. I don't get it. I don't get him. I don't understand his play. I don't understand his style. This type of play wouldn't have been acceptable in the 80s or the 90s when this was more black and blue, quote unquote, than it is now with the protection and more, steps to avoid these injuries. I don't get this guy. It's like he just doesn't want to avoid trying to hurt people. And I get, maybe he said, quote, tripped on that, the pump fake fooled him. He tripped when he took Martellus Bennett out. Then what are you stomping on dudes for? There's and Ramon Foster, the guard for the Steelers, and they play the Bengals twice a year. He's like, oh, that's nothing new. I mean, regardless of last year, he said, he steps on guys all the time in the pile. He twists guys' arms. That's what he does.
Yeah,
Get a clue, man. I don't get it.
He's not going to change. That's the other thing. Like, it's the thing. Like, you talk about,
it goes back to college with him.
Right, back to Arizona State. He's one of those dudes, like, kind of Ndamukong Suh kind of thing, to where it's just
he's 2 times worse than Sue.
Yeah, but Sue's had those problems, too. He stepped on the dude over in Green when he was playing Green
Lions,
Bay.
Yeah. He's had those problems twice.
Yeah.
Vontez has had, 4 times.
Yeah, Sue has kind of stopped that in a certain of a way.
Yeah, sure. He stomped that out.
He stomped that out. I see what you did there.
But continue.
But he, it's one of those things, like, you talk about when he's going to learn. He's not. Like, and there's nothing, like, I don't even mean this anything against Burfict. Like, he's just one of those dudes who just kind of just plays like an insane person, which helps him out.
Shows no mercy.
He's Captain Insano, yes. But yes. He does those things, right? So he does those things, like, also kind of like Captain Insano, poking dudes in the eye. Just kind of random stuff like that, which will help your team sometimes, but also will cost him money. And
that is the perfect example. This dude plays like a vengeful water boy.
Yes.
He's drop kicking fools and eye pokes and chasing guys down. I just don't understand it. I really don't.
That's his thing. That's what he does. He just wants to be the kind of crazy guy out there that you can't predict.
Remember, he had his problems at Arizona State too. That, like you guys mentioned, that hurt his draft stock too.
Yeah, he didn't get drafted. He was a supplemental pick.
He was supposed to be. He was projected to be a first or second round pick.
He's got the talent.
He had that talent,
and that's what I hate so much. Is that it's hard not to, in a sense, like him, because I appreciate his ability, his skill, his talent is up there. It really is. He's one of the best linebackers in the football. In the league. In
the football.
Yeah, in the football. In the league, in football. Like,
right.
I just don't get it. It's like, and don't even get me started on trying to pick a fight with the mountain that is Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski's the kind of guy that will headbutt you. Like, he just looks like he'll just boom and just headbutt you.
And it won't even hurt him.
Also,
yeah, exactly. He looks like that.
Also, Martellus Bennett is on that team. You don't want to fight him either.
Yeah, because he'll bring his brother.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys in the... Yeah,
you know how Martellus Bennett and his brother are.
LeGarrette Blunt's been known to punching fools,
yes.
In college when he was at Oregon. So, I just don't get... I don't get Burfict. I really don't.
I don't either. He's only 26 years old, and he looks like he's not going to mature.
Yeah.
He's not. Linebacker is the leadership position and the defense. It's just like the quarterback on offense.
Yeah, I don't...
He isn't a leader.
No, I see. I don't have a problem with being aggressive and playing until the whistle blows.
That's the way you're supposed to play the game.
That's how you're supposed to play the game. But he is going out there, maybe not intentionally trying to do it, but he's putting guys at risk to get injured. When you go at somebody's leg like that, if he was an inch to the left or something, that could be the end of Bennett's season right there.
Right.
So it's just he has figured out, man. Okay, who's next?
Fine, I'll go. You need a cool
so much convincing.
Yeah, you okay?
I got to get a drink of water.
You need to cool off there, my friend.
Got to give me a drink of water.
Okay. Anyways, for the league, the NFL, they had a new social media policy that went into place last Wednesday. It forbids teams from posting highlights from television directly to their social media accounts or turning the highlights into GIFs. I think that's how you say that word, GIFs or GIFs.
It's GIF.
It's GIFs. Well, I always have to.
It's GIF.
Okay. Dang. Okay.
It's GIF.
All right.
It's GIF.
Dang. Okay.
Continue.
All right. I'm sorry.
Continue, Jeremiah.
Jeremiah.
Yeah. Trying to say words wrong. Okay. I'll say your name wrong.
No. Okay.
So
but anyways, let me continue on a serious note. When the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cleveland Browns kind of made fun of this, they, instead of using actual highlights, they used mechanical figures for the touchdowns. Like, I remember, I think on Malcolm Jenkins' pick, I think that's his name, for the Philadelphia Eagles, they showed like a electric football into a Philadelphia Eagles figure, and it said interception on it, and then it just moved all slowly.
Yeah, it looks like Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, so to speak. So the Browns and Eagles had fun with that, and I thought it was hilarious the way they made these parody highlights, because they can't really do anything. And the social media policy also forbids teams from shooting video inside the stadium during the game as well, and they can't post it on social media.
It's that whole thing where you watch NFL games, and before the end of it says, the distribution of all this, has to be clear by the NFL, all that stuff. It's been like that for a while.
It's one of that. And then the policy also forbids teams from using Facebook Live and Periscope to pretty much stream anything live within the game. But I do like the way that the Browns and Philadelphia Eagles went with this, and I wouldn't be surprised if it caught on to the other 30 teams around the league. But probably not the Patriots, though. They don't. They just seem not to do that.
The Patriots would just post their stuff. They would just be like, and fine us. That's fine. We don't care.
They won't care.
They're looking straight in the face.
The Patriots are probably the only team I cannot see this doing this particular thing. But anyway, I thought it was funny.
That's pretty funny.
I think it was the funniest moment of the week.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Speaking of the Patriots and how we think they'll be the ones that would just kind of do the stuff to just annoy the NFL. Well, you got an annoyance with Bill Belichick. He is very much not a fan of technology, or at least some technology. He's got the Surface tablet for Microsoft, and we saw a couple weeks ago he got annoyed and basically just took it, slammed it against the bench. Well, he's done. He says, as you probably noticed, I'm done with the tablets. They're too undependable for me. I'm going to stick with pictures, so which several of our coaches do as well, because there just isn't enough consistency in the performance of the tablets. I just can't take it anymore. Basically, he's just going old school with this whole thing. Probably glitched on him a few times. Things were working the way he wanted to. He's just going with what he knows. You know, he's not somebody who I would see kind of stays up with technology. I don't think he's somebody that kind of has the latest and greatest technology. I probably think he has like a VCR at his house. Just plays old tapes
and a flip
like
phone,
that.
like we said,
a
Nokia
flip phone. Yeah, like
He
he probably
No, he's got no cell phone. He just has a landline. Call me at my office.
yeah.
We're on to my office.
He has like the same like VCR TV combination that he got probably in like 2000. So like yeah, he's also the best quarterback maybe in the history of the NFL. But, you know, Microsoft has been a partner with the NFL and he doesn't care about that. Another thing with Belichick basically being like, I don't care about your partnerships. I'm going to do what I want. But I just thought this was kind of a funny thing because you saw him a few weeks ago lose his mind with not lose his mind, but just kind of like basically just have the money to be like, I don't care about this hundreds of dollar tablet, bam, and now he's just like, okay, I'm completely done with this. You guys want to have a partnership? That's nice, that's cute. I'm done. I'm out.
I'm out of here. I'm Audi 5000.
Yeah, and Microsoft is a sponsor for NFL.
Yeah.
That's correct, right? Yeah.
What's that?
I was like, that's what I said.
My bad. I was reading while you were talking.
It's cool.
Yeah, but
I always thought that was funny. I said the same thing on the
was-
sports show. He
it's
just
funny.
launches something that I would have been like insanely overly protective over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like, I would get hurt if my heart would hurt if I did it.
My heart hurt when I watched him throw it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
I was like, bro, come on.
Come on.
Don't
come
do
on,
this.
come on.
Don't
Because
do this.
the tablets are expensive. That's like a whole paycheck for some people here. But when I hear in the room, but like here,
I
in
know
the
what you
world.
mean. In the world, yeah.
100%, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, man.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But that's all we have for you today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to preview Thursday Night Football between the Packers and the Bears. And we're going to talk about the final drive, in which we talk about all of the news that slipped through the cracks
And
in our
we
fingers.
might talk about college football.
Yeah, we might talk about college football. We like to have college football conversations with you too, Anthony, so we will do that. But until then, we'd like to bid adieu to you. Thank you for listening, as always. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. As always, I'm Alex.
I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And we will catch you cats tomorrow morning. Have a good rest of your day and enjoy your sports.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.